Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Terry Fletcher.
Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in to our WTF Moments week in the NFL season. My name is Terry Fletcher, and this is Steel City Underground. I'm going solo again today, but actually I'm coming from Pittsburgh, so I'm actually in town this week on business, so it's kind of nice to be able to get a little bit of weather. I'm out of the heat wave. It's over 100 right now in Southern California, and so it's nice to really be here and be able to talk football and really spend some time with a lot of Pittsburgh people in my hotel on yesterday morning. It was great because I got to see everybody in their Steeler wear and talk football, and it was awesome. So basically we're going to just kind of get into it already. You know, I just feel happy today. I feel like Vince Williams when he said, you know, food tastes better and songs are big hits and everything just seems right with the world when, you know, you're just pure happiness and elation on Victory Monday. But not just that. I mean, we had such a fun game yesterday, and I'm getting into the WTF moment, but you just have to kind of take a moment and just say, you know, this is what it's supposed to feel like. So the first thing has to be, oh my gosh, celebrations. You know, I've been kind of on a little bit of a bandwagon as far as, and conflicted, because I really love the celebrations. Don't get me wrong. I love them. I know Joe and I have talked about the celebrations, and, you know, we're talking about touchdown celebrations. And so, you know, they're fun. They just really give you something in the game that, you know, you just don't get when, you know, you're really focusing on the game. But one thing you have to keep in mind is how long they take. So our touchdown celebration from Juju Smith-Schuster, who we love, he's just such a kid out there. I mean, he's 20 years old, so I'm not kidding. He is a kid, but he acts like he's probably 12. He did a hide-and-seek celebration with Le'Veon Bell, and if you haven't seen it yet, you've got to go find the clip. It's awesome. But it was a pretty funny moment. It even went viral on a lot of the sports media sites, and they said, you know what, we just need to stop right now because that's the best one ever. So we've uncrowned the Duck Duck Goose, and even Barstool Sports said, you know what, that was hilarious. And what was funny about it is after Lev Bell, you know, hid behind the goalpost, the way Juju found him and came after him, he truly looked like he was 6 years old. It was great. But the one thing I am going to continue to, beating a dead horse here, I know I'm sorry, folks, but here's my WTF. When I saw them doing it, I went back and replayed it, and I counted, and it was 8 seconds to complete the celebration. That's just not conducive to running a 2-point conversion, and I don't know if you've noticed, but we haven't been doing a lot of those lately. So if the plan going forward is to do that, then I'm hoping that someone alerts the guys and, you know, that though you can't do that kind of celebration, please just spike the ball and move on. Because, you know, Ben is getting frustrated at when things aren't going the way he wants them to go. And so he will not be too happy, along with Coach Tomlin, giving out a few WTFs of their own if they don't do what they need to do to make the game keep going, because we will get that delay of game, and that'll be a problem. But speaking of some frustration for Ben, and, you know, there's actually a clip of him, he was not having, I don't think he was having words with Coach T as far as he was mad at him specifically, but he was not happy with the play call. And then there was a video later on after Ben recaps the game, and he was talking about, you know, I just don't think that's the play we should have run. And he's been pretty good about saying, you know, but that's, you know, we're supposed to execute the plays that are called. And we know he gets a lot of no huddle and opportunities because he's 14 years in to run plays that, you know, whatever look he's getting, he's got that second look, he can audible, so on. But there was, you know, a time, you know, when we were just before we went in for halftime where, you know, we've got, I think, a few seconds left. I think it was 16. And Joe and I actually comment on this in our last podcast. But either way, you could see his frustration. You know, he wanted a pass play called there, and they called, you know, a running play, and it just didn't work. We didn't have enough time for it. And so we ended up settling for another field goal, which was, you know, we ended up with 5 of 5, which, again, I love field goals. I love, you know, Chris Boswell, what he's doing out there. But WTF, we are not going to win a Super Bowl on field goals only. We have to start scoring more points than what we're scoring. We have to be able to pass the ball and get those, red zone touchdowns. And it's just not happening right now. Even though we're winning games, the red zone seems to be our Achilles heel. So I understand Ben's frustration there. I think he probably in his mind was saying, WTF, what are we doing out here? So really kind of interesting when you look at the big picture. I think we can beat anybody on any given day, but we're gonna struggle if we end up having to go, to New England, and we have to be able to just outscore them. Our defense is playing well. By the time we play them, it's going to be interesting to say the least, but because they're not playing well on defense. But we're going to have to score those points, and that means touchdowns. It does not mean field goals. So I get that frustration there. We also had kind of a funny moment with the, I look at this and maybe it's not a WTF, but it's another kind of happy moment. What the F are you front door are you guys doing on the field today? It's like somebody was bored or something. But when special teams coach Danny Smith decided, I think let's run that old fake punt play. You remember we did that a few years ago with, Rob Golden and he's a safety, by the way. And it was pretty funny because it worked. So he threw it 44 yards for Darius Hayward-Bay. Well, he threw it for a 44-yard reception, and it was awesome, and it actually changed the game. And that was the Bengals were left saying, WTF was that? So that was just crazy. And then one of the interesting things this week is we heard reports that the Bengals were practicing this week to the Steelers defensive play song Renegade. So if you've never been to a live game, and actually I have not, but I do see the streaming live, so I have seen that. I shouldn't say I haven't been to a live Heinz Field game. I have been to one in San Diego, so where they're playing there, and trust me, it's Steeler country out in Southern California too. So it's all terrible towels, and it was definitely funny, but we don't get the Renegade song out there. So when a good defensive play or a couple of them are stacked, all of a sudden, you see the lights dim, you see the big screen come up, and that stick song is just, it gives you chills. I mean, even seeing it on video. And if you haven't had a chance to see it, seriously, go to Steel City Underground's Twitter feed, also go to their website, and they post the videos there live because Joe, our editor-in-chief, he goes to those games. And when I say he's on assignment, that's probably where he is. He's doing his job, live at the games. And so what was funny is that we heard that the Bengals were practicing to that, and after a couple interceptions, 3 sacks on Andy Dalton, we got the Renegade song playing, and I think they're just like, oh, WTF, that song, and they're not going to be able to get it out of their minds. So that was a kind of amusing one to me. As soon as I heard that playing and Joe posted that video, I had to laugh. Just in the way of thinking what the Bengals were thinking at that point. I'm sure that was a huge WTF moment for them. So one of the topic, now I'm going to get not negative, but I'm going to have to bring it up. I have to. It's all over, social media, and it's a WTF because I'm actually tired of it. I'm just really getting tired of, after we have such an awesome win, we were functioning at all 3 levels, special teams, offense, defense. We had a really good game winning 29-14. And just to see, things come out in the media, this white noise, this nonsense. And, the only thing I can say is, gosh, this is pissing me off at this point because we don't need the drama. And once again, in this week, just like last week, and I really kind of shoved it off to maybe a media person who doesn't seem to understand, what his sources are or anything, saying things about, certain players that he has been wrong in the past. But apparently there was some truth to it, that Martavis Bryant is continuing to post things on social media, and I call it his verbal tantrums about his unhappiness as a Steeler. True or not, it's on his social media. This time it was on Instagram. And what really drives me insane here, and I'm just going to rant a little bit, is the fact that This is a player who twice was violated the NFL drug policy. He's been off the field for, 18 months and just came, obviously came back. And yes, he worked hard to get his body in shape and his mind right and his health right to come back. But nobody else, had these issues. Maybe, Lev Bell had some similar issues as far as the first time. The second time was just not going to that, but it wasn't the violation that Martavis had. But, there's other guys in the locker room. There's 53 on this roster, and they're not having these issues. They're not the ones that are letting their teams down. They're not the ones that are complaining about time. You may have brought yourself back from a physical standpoint, a mental standpoint, but nobody owes you anything. Martavis, nobody owes you anything. And that's what really is bothering me. You can just tell, I talk all the time about, kids nowadays are just so entitled. And that's what I feel about this. I feel that the comments that he keeps making, and again, I call them alleged comments, even though I did see what was posted on his now deleted post on his account, which have now been deleted. Basically saying that, first of all, saying he's better than Juju Smith. Oh, come on. You don't call out one of your teammates. That's just ridiculous. Talk about a WTF there, calling out a teammate who's doing their job, having fun with it, being a positive on the field, listening to coaches, doing what he needs to do. I mean, the only negative about Juju, I think, is someone said, I think it was not Tony Romo, but I think it was Jim Nantz or Tirico, who was on the media with him for our game, basically was saying, coach said, so what did you eat last night? And he said, ice cream. He goes, let's get some vegetables in that body of yours. So, but he's 20. So, obviously you're like, okay, Juju. But as far as his athletic ability and his ability to be that slot receiver, I mean, he's got separate skills than what, AB has, Antonio Brown. And you have to look at it. And again, I am really pointing the finger at Martavis at this point, because I'm tired of everybody tiptoeing around, oh, we don't want to deal with that, or we shouldn't say anything. That's ridiculous. If he's putting it out there, then we got to address it. And the thing is you have to be the bigger person here. Look at the big picture. Look, what is this about? It's a team sport. It's not a one-player sport. It's not about getting you your stats or your touches or anything. You ask to be involved, you're a starter. You're involved. You may be not targeted as much as you want to be, but you're involved in the offense. We need you out there blocking. Think of Hines Ward. Especially towards the end of his career, he wasn't targeted that much at all, but without his blocking ability, we wouldn't have been able to win that Super Bowl. And so, you really have to look at it as helping to open those windows for your teammates, for yourself, showing that you're a team player. And, Ben responds to that. He respects it. Think of, who we lost, Heath Miller. That guy isn't going to be in the Hall of Fame anytime. He didn't, break a ton of records, but he was the best teammate that Ben said he ever had. He was not selfish. He basically made it about the team, not about himself. And, think of team guys right now that are on that team, and Arthur Moats and James Harrison, even Eli Rodgers. Eli's a young guy. He was, last year there was touted as saying he was one of the best slot receivers out there. And, then we draft Juju, and what's Eli been doing? Well, if he's activated, occasionally he gets put in the backfield or on a special team play, but he's getting no time this year. So, he had a fumble in one of the punt returns, and basically it was like, okay, you're done, and the AB's back there. So, I really am tired of the complaints. Try to really look at some of the teammates that are getting less and less time or inactivated on game day. And you are a starter. Think about the guys that left. Think about Mike Wallace and Sammy Coates and, Marcus Wheaton. Do they think that everything's better? I read a report that, Bryant said he was out sick today, and that his agent said that. I really hope he has a doctor excuse. I really hope, because all this whining is just one big WTF. And that is just getting really tired. And if you don't think that you're going to be verbally and, people have really embraced you coming back, I have not bought into it. I've basically said, don't even call him a killer bee, because I want to see that he makes this not about him, but about the team. And I can't say I called it, but, well, I can. I'm not seeing it. And so, the biggest WTF here is you need to step up, because we actually need you. You have speed, you have talent, and you've made some really good blocks out there that we need a blocking wide receiver. We do. And also, stay off social media. You post and then delete. WTF on that. Be smarter than that. Once you post it, somebody's taken a photo of it. There's a record of it. There's no going back. It's out there. So not only yourself, but any of your family members that think they're helping or not helping, it's not going to get you a better deal. It's not going to get you to a team that's going to put up with this whining either. So I'll move on from this now, but that was my biggest WTF for the week, and I'm just tired of it, and I can't be the only one. And I hope anybody listening to this podcast, if Joe ends up allowing me to do it this week again by myself separately, that you give us some feedback on what you think. Because again, Martavis has all the talent in the world. When he gets the ball, when he's not being tackled down by his ankles, his yards after the catch have not been good this year. But when he can get some wide open space, and somebody's not covering him, which he hasn't been targeted, so it might not be a bad idea to start throwing his direction. He is so fast. So that is something that we really hope that he does continue as a Steeler if he can change his attitude. Attitude is key. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you're not a good teammate, you don't help the team. All you do is create that background noise, that drama, and it doesn't help. So one of the things that, moving on to a couple of the last WTFs in the Steelers-Bengals game, has to be, well, one is the fourth down play. I think we're down. Fourth down and 6, and I think we were, I think the Bengals were down about 15 points, and Andy Dalton has only one option. He's got to throw the ball to a receiver. He's got to try to move that ball down the field, and he throws it out of bounds. Now, there's a funny post out there by one of my colleagues, Brian Roach, which I thought was really funny. He said, I think I'll just throw the ball away so that, in protest of getting hit again. But, Andy's considered a veteran in this league, and, he's not a top 5 quarterback, but he is, compared to what we have out there, a top 15. And it's just sad when you see something like that happen. I mean, I'm happy because as a Steeler, obviously fan, it helped our team win, but you just sit there and shake your head and go, what are you doing? So that was definitely a WTF moment for them. And then one of his teammates, which, there's only one Vontaze Burfict. We've been hearing because of the hard hits that Mike Mitchell had last week, and he got, fined over $50,000 for 2 of them in particular. And, obviously anybody who broke down that video and saw the tape, he was pushed or by Chicolo. It wasn't his fault completely. It definitely was a hard, low hit. But when you look at where you can actually hit somebody right now, it's kind of confusing. But anyway, they've been calling him, oh yeah, he's a dirty player. He's a hard-hitting player. And then you come back to Vontaze Burfict. That player, there's only one way to really describe who he is, and it's basically no self-control. None whatsoever. During a run back, Rosie Nix was in the mix of the tackling. He then, trying to get out of the tackle, he kicks him in the head. There was no flag. Obviously, the refs were looking in another direction. But this is, again, the video's out there. And are you kidding me? Even Le'Veon Bell posted on his Twitter handle, and I'm going to quote this. He said, it's unbelievable the league is just condoning this activity. But if Rosie reacts, Rosie would be the one that would get into trouble. And this is sad. And what is sad here is that Bell is correct. Talk about a WTF to the NFL. Not even a flag thrown, and this needs to be addressed this week. That guy needs to be out of the league. He does not try to hit. He does not try to stop the play. He tries to injure. He's trying to take people out of the game, and this is their livelihood. Get them out of the game. So this is just absolutely ridiculous at this point. And then just looking around the league, let's just comment on a couple other things. And I just feel bad because, I say this in a way that, again, I don't like it when guys get injured. You see the guys that are injured as far as, Aaron Rodgers, Ryan Tannehill, Andrew Luck, Sam Bradford. We've got some quarterbacks that are down, and you don't get better unless you play the best, teams. Now, obviously, some people disagree, saying, oh, that's going to pave our way even closer to the Super Bowl. Yes, it is, but we still don't want anybody to get hurt. But some WTF, possibly season-ending and even career-ending injuries. One is for Cardinals quarterback Carson Palmer. He broke his arm and in Sunday's game, and he's going to need surgery. They say he's out 8 to 10 weeks, and he was contemplating retirement this offseason, so it could be the last we see of him. In Miami, this doesn't surprise anybody, but Jay Cutler was injured. He was kind of getting killed. But now they're reporting that it was they said rib injury at first, and now they're reporting fractured ribs on Sunday. And so he'll be out for at least 2 or 3 games. So, players are dropping like flies. It's really unfortunate, but that is kind of where we're at, and that kind of ends my WTF ranting for the week. But just keep an eye on everything that's going out there. We hopefully it's going to continue with our winning season. Now we're 5-2 as Steelers, and nothing's going to ruin my day today. I'm pretty happy about everything. So until next time, folks, be safe, be good, and we'll talk to you soon.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.